Morning everyone, it's fight day today. I've just been on a morning run, so I'm probably looking slightly dishevelled. Apologies in advance for the appearance. But as I was on my run, I was pondering the prediction video that I uploaded yesterday. And in that video, which obviously I'd encourage you to have a look at if you haven't seen it, I predict Tyson Fury to win the fight. And what I started to imagine is a world after this fight where Tyson Fury has actually gone out and done the business against Wladimir Klitschko. So I guess what I wanted to put down is my thoughts are what happens next if Tyson Fury wins. And I mean that in two senses. Firstly, like, how do we view Tyson Fury if he gets the job done tonight? And secondly, what fights are the logical next moves for him? Now, I guess first and foremost, let's talk about how we would view Tyson Fury if he wins this fight. I think it's fair to say that I haven't been following Wladimir Klitschko his entire career. You know, Wladimir Klitschko's had something like 65 fights. I'm not going to pretend I've seen them all. I don't know who he fought in his fourth fight. I don't know who he fought in his ninth fight. You know, there's going to be people out there who are much more educated and more knowledgeable about these things than I am. But what I do know is the Wladimir Klitschko who's been on top of the world and dominating for the last 10 years. And I also know the Wladimir Klitschko who had some tough times before then. And what I can say is, in my experience, and there'll probably be someone in the comments section who points out an early fight, but in my experience, Wladimir Klitschko, we haven't really ever seen him outboxed in a professional ring. I have never watched the Wladimir Klitschko fight and halfway through the fight looked up and thought, do you know what, Vlad's going to get outpointed today. It's never happened. The fight that comes closest is the first Tony Thompson fight, where Tony Thompson's awkwardness, southpaw stance, etc. caused Wladimir Klitschko some awkwardness. Now there are some pundits out there, including Dwyer, who think Tony Thompson was pretty much dominating that fight. My view is slightly more moderate than that. You know, I see it as that was a close fight, with Tony Thompson causing some difficulties. I'm not going to say Thompson was outboxing Vlad that day, but let's say it was a tighter fight. And Vlad obviously won that fight in definitive style in the end. But my point is, really, has Vlad ever been outboxed? Has he ever been close to losing on points? You know, he's fought the cream of this generation, hasn't he? I mean, even in recent memory, David Haye, Pulev, Povetkin, Bryant Jennings, you know, these are all highly rated contenders. You know, obviously before then, you could go on for ages talking about his resume. Now, bearing in mind that I'm predicting that Tyson Fury will outbox Vlad tonight, he may not, he may get wiped out in the first round, but bearing in mind that I'm predicting that Tyson Fury will outbox Vlad, I think the level of respect that needs to go to Tyson Fury should he accomplish this task is pretty substantial. Yes, Wladimir Klitschko is nearing 40. Yes, age will catch up with us all. But 10 years undefeated, arguably the strongest resume in world boxing, now that Floyd Mayweather has gone. I cannot really see an argument for having this guy outside of the pound for pound top three. I cannot see it. For me, I cannot really see an argument for having this guy outside the heavyweight top 10 of all time. You know, I've spent a bit of time looking into this, and obviously you've got your Muhammad Ali's, you've got your Lennox Lewis's, your Fraser's, your Foreman's, Sonny Liston, but Wladimir Klitschko is right up there for the decade of dominance, for the KO ratio, for the resume. I've got to say, if Tyson Fury goes and beats Vlad tonight, and if he beats him, you know, by fair and proper means, which I've predicted he will do, you know, I'm not talking if Wladimir slips and breaks his leg or something, I'm talking if Tyson Fury goes and beats him soundly. We have to look at Tyson Fury as having the potential to be an all-time great heavyweight. I've said that before, and I know I get stick. And one victory doesn't mean you're an all-time great heavyweight. Look, I'm not saying Fury beats Vlad and then he's up amongst the gods and he's talked about in the same sentence as Lennox Lewis and Wladimir and Muhammad Ali. But we've got here a British guy in his mid-20s who, at this point, has beaten Wladimir Klitschko. You know, there's big fights out there in the division for him. We need to get behind this guy and really work out that we've got a guy here who will already be a pound-for-pound top 10 fighter, who will already be well on the way to being an all-time great boxer, all-time great heavyweight, should I say. We've potentially got something special. You know, people have talked long and hard about the heavyweight division, right? And about how poor it is. For the last sort of 5-6 years, I've heard about how crap the heavyweight division is. Right now, I don't see that. For me, the heavyweight division is very, very exciting. Let's say Fury beats Klitschko. I know there's a rematch clause. I know that could get in the way. But let's put that to one side for a second. You've got Deontay Wilder, the hugely flamboyant WBC world champion. What a unification fight that would be. You've got the return of David Haye. You know, Fury's claiming he wouldn't have interest in fighting David Haye, but the level of finance he could expect to accumulate from that fight now, with him being a world champion, maybe too good to turn down. You've got the rise of Anthony Joshua, who I'm sceptical about, but let's be honest, he's captured the public's imagination in a way that we haven't seen for some time. He looks like a wrecking ball. You've got Joseph Parker, the young heavyweight from New Zealand, who's making real waves in the division and carries the support of a nation in a way that I'm not sure I've experienced before in boxing. You know, you've got all these potential matchups for Tyson Fury, the guy who's just dethroned Wladimir Klitschko. For me, it would be an extremely exciting time in world boxing. Extremely exciting. You know, I'm talking about what happens next. I've done this video on the basis that Tyson Fury were to win the belt. If he were to lose tonight, and obviously it depends on circumstances, you know, if he was just soundly battered by Wladimir Klitschko, it does take away from his legend, you know. But if he were to lose in a respectable performance, I know he's talking about retirement, and to be fair, if he's sensible with his money, he'll make enough money tonight to retire. Twice over, 3 times over, comfortably. You know. But what I would say is, there are still massive fights for Tyson Fury if he were to lose tonight. As I said, he's in his mid-20s. He's a baby in the heavyweight division. The Anthony Joshua, the David Haye fights don't necessarily go away because you lose to Wladimir Klitschko. You know, this fight is going to raise Tyson Fury's profile. His antics leading up to it have made him what I would consider a borderline celebrity status in the UK. There's still a way back for him. There's still a future in the sport for him, most definitely, whatever happens tonight. But, yeah, what I guess I'm getting at here is if he does go out and he does the business, like I expect him to, yes, Wladimir Klitschko was getting old, but that didn't stop him handily dispatching Brian Jennings, Alexander Povetkin, Kubrat Pulev. Yes, Wladimir Klitschko has been stopped before earlier on in his career, but that hasn't stopped a decade of dominance where we haven't seen him knocked out once. If Fury goes and does the business tonight, I don't want to hear negativity about it. I want to hear celebration about it. And as I say, we're on the verge of an all-time great heavyweight boxer. I'm getting excited, but it did occur to me that I've done a video predicting Tyson Fury to win. Let's just consider the consequences of that for 1 second. And I know it's probably a sort of 10-minute ramble without any definitive point, but I'm very excited for this fight and I wanted to get these thoughts down. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on what we've discussed in this video, on the fight in general. Many thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this by any rare chance, do click the thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. Many thanks for watching.